Good evening, I'm Emma Jane Vare and this is Television Tonga News. In the headlines, concerns raised over members not in Parliament and main sessions are underway. Average rainfall recorded in the first 5 days of September nears the average rainfall forecasted for the whole month. And the local media is made aware of its role in light of a natural disaster. These and more stories, including news from the Pacific, sports, world and the weather bulletin later on in this bulletin. Let's take a look at the news in detail. From Parliament, the Acting Speaker of Parliament, Lord Tuihateho, this morning reminded members of the House to comply with the rules of procedure and standing orders of the Legislative Assembly. He made the statement after Parliament was adjourned yesterday afternoon due to a lack of quorum. It's Fatai Whaingaa with more on that story.
The Acting Speaker of Parliament, Lord Tuihateho, stressed to members of the House that Clause 27 of the Rules of Proceeding state that every member shall attend meetings of the Legislative Assembly unless the Speaker has granted leave of absence to that member. He also reminded members of the House that it's important for them to attend every Parliament seating and inform the public, for they are listening to parliamentary discussions which is broadcast live on radio. Last week, there was no Parliament seating also on Thursday afternoon because more than half of the members were absent. The House has been delayed for 15 minutes on several occasions due to lack of quorum. According to Clause 25B, the Speakers shall ensure no business shall be proceeded with for 15 minutes if one half of the members, including him, are not present. And if at the end of 15 minutes the membership is still less than one half, the Speaker should adjourn the Legislative Assembly to the next day. For Television Tonga News, I'm Fatai Whaingaa.
The Honourable Prime Minister Lord Tuivavanoa takes a stand with other Pacific leaders in identifying climate change as the single greatest threat to the region. This was raised during the Pacific Island Leaders Forum meeting in the Micronesian capital of Majuro. This year's theme is Marshalling Pacific Response to Climate Change Challenges. Sinilatu tells you more.
Pacific leaders believe that low-lying islands in the region are particularly vulnerable to sea level rise caused by climate change. A series of recent weather-related disasters means that the islands have a keener sense than most of the urgency of drawing up a coherent response to climate change. Tonga, like other small islands states, is highly susceptible to the impacts of climate change and disaster risks due to its geographical, geological, and socio-economic characteristics. The government understands these significant detrimental impacts of climate change and disaster risks to sustainable development of the country, hence considered these issues as high priorities in its National Strategic Planning Framework 2009-2014. Tonga's Joint National Action Plan on Climate Change Adaptation and Disaster Risk Management have high national and community priority goals and activities to be implemented to enable the people and environment of Tonga to adapt to the impacts of climate change and to mitigate disaster risks. The leaders also believe that the upcoming session of the UN General Assembly in New York will serve as powerful global demonstrations of the collective determination of the Pacific leaders to lead efforts towards addressing global climate change and sustainable energy for all. Sustainable energy will continue to be central to the success of the next meeting of SIDS in Samoa in 2014, in the development of the post-2015 development agenda and the Pacific Islands' fight against climate change in order to create a more sustainable future for all. The forum will discuss a broad agenda on ways of bolstering relations between island member countries and the private sector, civil society, and in particular the development partners to commit to increasing their contributions to averting the global climate catastrophe. For Television Tonga News, I'm Sinilatu.
The Honourable Minister of Internal Affairs, Lord Vaea, thanked the Chairman of the Committee of the Whole House for its guidance during deliberations and support of the passing of the Family Protection Bill 2013, despite opposition it faced on the way. Linda Filiai has the details.
The Internal Affairs Minister says this is a historical moment in Tonga's parliamentary session as the bill took 3 weeks to debate on behalf of all the women, children and men of Tonga. The core areas of the bill, he adds, have remained intact despite some very heavy debating and at times strong opposition from members of the House. One example he gave was protection order in the bill, which gave the authority to police to issue orders on the spot. The area met with strong opposition from some members, yet still remain in the bill. The development of the bill is an initiative of Government of Tonga through the Ministry of Education, Women Affairs and Culture, Women Affairs Division, and Secretariat of the Pacific Community Regional Right Resource Team. For Television Tonga News, I'm Linda Filiai.
The Tonga Meteorological Office in Fomotu has recorded 113 millimetres of rainfall since September 1st this year to date. It's close to the total average rainfall forecasted for the month of September alone. We're doing Sinilatu with that report.
A Met officer from the Tonga Meteorological Office, Seluvaya Ilolahia, told TV Tonga News this is just the usual trough that Tonga is experiencing at the moment. She adds that the amount of rainfall recorded already is also good for the people's water supply.
The rainfall that we have collected and recorded in Fomotu station from the 1st of September up until the 5th is about 113 millimeters total just within these 5 days. And the average September rainfall is total to be around 140 millimeters. So looking at this amount that we have received at the moment is surely telling us that the amount of rain that we have received is going to be on average or above average, because we haven't reached the end of the month or even halfway through the month, but we have received this amount of rain, which is very good for Tonga.
When asked if the heavy downpour will cause any flooding, she said that flooding only occurs when there is a continuous heavy rainfall and that the land or soil won't be able to hold the excess rainwater. Television Tonga News understands that some areas in Tongatapu are experiencing minor flooding from the recent rain. Meanwhile, Television Tonga News stringers in Vava'u and Ha'apai, Ludovico Tapueluelu and Moimoi Fahua says they've also been experiencing rain too. For Television Tonga News, I'm Sinilatu.
The local media is made aware of its important role in disseminating information to the public in light of a natural disaster. An advisor from New Zealand's Ministry of Civil Defence and Management is in Nuku'alofa to hold a one-day workshop with the local media highlighting their roles to the public. Anasiu Falekaona was there and filed this report.
New Zealand's advisor from the Ministry of Civil Defence and Management, Mr. Ian Wilson, says there are different ways which the media can warn the public should a natural disaster occur, such as tsunami. It's also important to ensure that these warnings or messages can also be received by people with disabilities, such as deaf or a blind person. One person from the local media said a challenge they face when trying to obtain information and release it to the public is their point of contact, which is usually busy or unavailable. Therefore, they update the information from the international media or online. Mr. Wilson replied that they are dealing with this concern and are putting together a team which can update the media in such events.
During an event, the controller is a very busy person, and to get a media release from him is difficult. What we're aiming here is to put in behind him a public information management team that will prepare the briefs for him. He will okay it, and then we'll actually get that out to the public and to the media. And by that message, we'll have a consistent one and we'll get it out a lot quicker.
Mr. Wilson also encourages the stakeholders to work closely together.
And the need for key agencies to be involved and the consistent message within these key agencies. It should all be put together and consistently advise the public what to do, when to do and how to do it. And it's important that the public are kept advised of what the event is and how it will affect them.
Participants were representatives from different media outlets, including the Tonga Broadcasting Commission. Anasiu Falekaona for Television Tonga News.
The 7th contingent from the Tonga Defence Services to serve under the peacekeeping mission in Afghanistan will leave Tonga tomorrow afternoon. The Acting Prime Minister, Sami Vaipolo, along with families and friends, will be at the airport to bid them farewell. It's Linda Filiai with more on that story.
Major Kaldu Ivai leads Tonga's 7 contingent to Afghanistan. He's assisted by Lieutenant Telefoni and Lieutenant Fonua. Speaking to Television Tonga News, Major Tuivai says his team is well prepared and confident they can carry out duties which lie ahead. He's also got 11 soldiers on his team who served previously in Afghanistan. We have taken part in various training exercises to prepare us for the mission. One training was led by New Zealand officer, including law of armed conflict and rule of engagement, which will be important for us in Afghanistan. All the members in the troop must pass in shooting tests in order to participate in the mission. As a leader, it also his job to motivate his team. The soldiers are expecting to meet a lot of challenges during our mission. One of the biggest challenges is being apart from their families, so I had to motivate and encourage my team to focus while we were on the mission. I'm also appealing for the support from their families here. Major Tuivai says he has taken part in similar mission in Solomon Island and Iraq, but this is his first trip to Afghanistan. This contingent will lead to more of a Britain for an 8 weeks training before continuing to Afghanistan to replace the 6th contingent currently serving in Afghanistan. For Television Tonga News, I'm Linda Filiai.
More than a month after the passing of the former manager of Cabela Construction Company in Tonga, John Walton, his work continues to thrive in the kingdom. The current manager, Baya Bau, told Television Tonga News that John Walton died when a plane he was in, a Cessna 182, crashed while he was on holiday in South Africa. Walton first began working in Tonga as a manager of Fletcher Construction Company from 1994 to 1998 before he set up his own construction company. Mr. Bau says John Walton contributed a lot to the kingdom, and this is seen in all the work he left behind. Such constructions include the National Reserve Bank of Tonga, various Mormon church buildings, the Royal Palace, and his last construction work was the Tonga Cable. These are all buildings which are important to the country. John Walton is survived by his wife and 5 children who reside in New Zealand. That's the local news. Pacific is next.